Hit it.
Yep, here he comes. Riding his trusted steed through the Sierra foothills as he brings you the news. He calls himself
Charlie.
What you doing, Charlie?
Sorry, Charlie.
Charlie, there you are. Charlie, there you are.
I'm the
Hey, Charlie. What's with that glasses?
Here he is, a man of God, living in the world of Disney. Charlie Simons.
Johnny bit me.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to Do Not Talk, talking about two things you're never supposed to talk about, religion and politics. I am Charlie Simons. You can find me at rumble.com/DoNotTalk. And if you want to help this show, keep us going, we could sure use the financial, even just buy me a cup of coffee if you can, at venmo.com/DoNotTalk. As a matter of fact, that right there is one of those QR codes. You just focus your camera on that, and it'll take you to venmo.com/DoNotTalk. Patrick Whale is my guest right now. I met him through one of my favorite groups of people I've ever known, and they've become my family, Freedom Riders 1776. They're a group of patriots in Northern California where I live. For anybody who thinks that there's no conservatives left in California, I challenge you to listen to A Country Boy Can Survive by Hank Williams Jr., where out of all the places he mentions where patriots are and country boys, one of the places he mentions is Northern California. He knows. So Freedom Rider 1776, find him on Facebook and all the different social media places. And one of those gentlemen that I met is going to prison. What? I'm sorry, what? Patrick Whale. Hello, my friend. How are you, sir?
Hi, Charlie. How you doing?
I'm fantastic, thank you. I've interviewed many people who were there at January 6th. A couple of them I interviewed while they were in jail, had to do the whole prison phone system thing. They had 15 minutes and that was it. It's a little weird if you've never had to do that before, talk to somebody while they're in jail or prison. And I have heard again and again and again, and that there was nothing that they did that warrants the punishment that they've received. And a lot of it is just putting them away and shutting them up. And then our own Republican representatives, with the exception of Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ted Cruz, everyone else has ignored them.
Yep.
It's been so frustrating to me. And one in particular kept saying, this could end tomorrow. Congress could make this end tomorrow. He kept saying that. I have friends who were actually there. They took the opportunity. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. We're already seeing what happened in 2020. We're starting to see the evidence come out and then suppressed, which tells me even more that it was real, the cheating going on, the fraud that went on in that election.
Yep.
That's why we were there on January 6th, because that's the day they were going to certify the election. Vice President Mike Pence could have stopped everything that we have lived through for almost 4 years now.
Yep.
Mike Pence could have stopped that. Don't ever forget that. But instead, when President Trump announced, I'm going to be there, I'm going to hold a rally near the Capitol, peacefully, patriotically, let our voices be heard, that we're not going to put up with this. We know that bad things have happened. This election should not be certified. It needs to be investigated. And if possible, as the U.S. Constitution tells us to do it over. Do it over. That's what the Constitution says. If there's any question of any kind of fraud like that or cheating.
Yep.
Did you see 2,000 Mules by Dinesh D'Souza? His film?
No, that's one of the. I saw the one he did about the state coming in with the FBI and all that stuff, but I didn't see 2,000 Mules. That was about the trafficking stuff.
Life changing.
Yeah.
Mike Lindell. I've worked a lot with him. I've had him on the air. I've had him on the show. What he has uncovered.
Yeah.
Life changing. but
Yeah.
yet it's being ignored by my own fellow Republican Party and elected representatives. That's one of
Because
my
they're
biggest
part of
frustrations.
it.
So again, I have friends who are actually
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and they have been for years now living in fear of that knock on the door.
Yeah.
Patrick, you got that knock on the door from the FBI, didn't you?
I did. They raided my house. They threw me on the street. I was going to, you know what? I just got that knock on the door that I was telling you about earlier. I, the timing is like horrible. I need to answer the door.
Okay.
I want to tell you. Can you pause it or something? Just give me a minute and talk to them and let them start, and I can come
Well,
back and like, or we can try again in a few minutes. I don't.
well, we're live right now. So there's
Well,
something I can show though in the meantime. So you go
okay.
ahead and do your thing.
Give
But
me
how
one
long do you
second.
think?
I'm going to
Okay.
answer the door and I'm going to come right back.
All right, buddy, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry.
Wow. That didn't happen all the time. So in the meantime, where is it? I had something I wanted to show you. I thought that you'd appreciate. Who is Obama Harris? And I call her Obamala. I got that from that guy David over at X22 Report. He calls her that, and I thought that was such a clever name, Obamala Harris. But I wanted to show this to you while we're waiting for him. And this is from John Stossel, who's a great media who turned conservative. Um, Excellent reporting. So here you go. Let's watch this now. Holy cow, I messed up. My apologies. This will all be fixed in post, as they say. I'm going to have to edit it to get it on the Rumble channel.
Just come in here. Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries, buddy. No worries. You got back just in time because I messed up what I was trying to show there. So forget
Oh,
that. But
okay.
there you are. Okay. So when did this happen? What on January 6th, where were you that made them so angry? What did you do?
So basically, I went to the Stop the Steal rally. I went and saw Trump's speech. It was crazy. I was just filming, watching the speech. It was like millions of people, and it was pretty impressive turnout. From there, he said peacefully and patriotically, let your voices be heard. So a lot of us just walked in, and I met some feds in there. I know they're feds now, but we can get back to that later. But we walked down to the Capitol, and we were around there. People were singing flags, blah blah blah. And I didn't have any flags or anything, but the most I did the whole time was say like USA, USA, stop the steal, that kind of stuff. No violence, no assaults or anything like that. Then they started launching like bear spray, pepper spray stuff like behind us. And I was kind of up towards the top.
Who's they? Who's they?
The Metro Police, Capitol Police.
The police are spraying some kind of tear gas or something into the crowd,
Yeah,
unprovoked.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. So they initiated it. None were near me, but there was some. It was windy and cold, and so I'd get whiffs of it and stuff. So I was like constantly like that. So I moved a little closer, and you saw the Capitol Police like lined up on the door, not in fear for their life. There was like one door over to the left. This is the Senate wing doors. And they were just standing there, and like we were standing there, walking around. And then one of the other guy by the actual door into the Capitol, door is open, and he's waving people in. And he looks official. like they had like the little yellow thing. I don't know if it was just a costume or if he really was, but of course during my trial that camera was broken. So the camera that would have shown that he was waving me in was broken. So anyway, so I walked in and I filmed the whole thing. So the whole thing, and I've been told by several people that I have the most complete video footage of the whole event. So went in there, walked through the Capitol, went to the rotunda. There are people walking around there, police walking around there, police like with just casually walking amongst us. I have
Yeah.
video of that
Nobody
too.
telling you, get out, you can't be in
No,
here, you're
no,
trespassing. Nobody's
yeah,
saying anything like that.
no, 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 no. They're talking and and not in fear for their life. So eventually we go, and there were feds in there too. So I have other videos on that. But we walk up the stairs by the speaker suite. It's like Nancy Pelosi's office or conference room, and there's several rooms. So we're walking up there, and like people are like saying stop the steal. I mean, there was a couple people up ahead that might have like done some, I saw like part of her plaque. I didn't see that actually happen, but somebody did that, whether it was a patriot or the other side, we don't know. But so I walked up there. I saw that little conference room where we've seen the guy with his foot in there. I walked in there. Okay, walked out, no biggie. And I started going down the hallway towards the balcony, and you can hear, I heard some glass break, and behind me, and I'm like, and immediately everybody's like, hey, we don't do violence, no vandalism. And I said that, I said, you can hear me on my phone. I'm like, we're not Antifa. We don't do that. Don't do that. Like everybody said that. Of course, during my trial, they cut out that little part. So, they showed me walking around with the mom, and then they cut out the part where I said, don't do any violence. We're not Antifa. So they cut all that out. And they did that multiple times.
They
And
literally used your own video footage against you.
yeah, but they cut it. They edited it.
Yeah.
They used my own, and I still don't have my phone. I luckily had made, my phone had uploaded to the cloud, so I got some of the stuff, and I had been requesting from the FBI to get my documents or my phone footage. They raided my house. They took a bunch of computers, hard drives to try to find some, and they didn't find anything. Otherwise they would have used it in the trial, so they still have my stuff. And then right before I went to DC to trial, because what they wanted me to sign was the plea deal to say that, this was a violent insurrection, Trump, and, it's blah, blah, blah. And I'm reading it and I'm like, this is all crap. This is all lies. I'm not gonna, plead to that. So I didn't. And they were gonna drop. So they charged me with, let's see. So I got charged with 2 misdemeanor trespassings, 1752, and then in 22 they added all these other codes in there. So I not to get into that. A disorderly conduct, which is 40-5104 and 40-5104, parading and demonstrating, all misdemeanors, no violence at all in there. So they were going to drop 3 of the 4 and charge me with 1 misdemeanor, 1 trespassing, and like pay a $25 processing fee, which in hindsight, that would have saved me going to a lot of stuff that's happened. If I would have just signed it, they probably would have gone away. But I refused to sign it because it was all lies. And I'm like, I didn't agree with anything in there. So they kept saying, hey, you got till Friday. And then I wouldn't sign it. And then, oh, next Friday, so they kept on like rolling it in to get me to sign it. And then
Right.
I never signed it. To this day, I still haven't signed it. So
Good.
So I had to go to DC and fight. And I knew I wouldn't get a fair trial with the jury trial. So I chose a bench trial. And so I figured, and this lady that was the judge was actually appointed by Trump. So I was thinking, oh, this is going to be, maybe I'll get some justice here, So I go to DC, I get all prepared. I've got medical issues and stuff, but I'm like, okay, I missed my nieces had passed away in a horrific accident. Couldn't go to that. So I had to go to DC to fight this, this was more important. So I go to DC, I get on the stand. I didn't get my evidence until like 2 days before, a couple days before I was supposed to go to DC. My public defender gives me like a little thumb drive. I had been asking for my phones, my computers, all this stuff. I still don't have it. They still have all that stuff. And so right before I'm supposed to go, I get a thumb drive that's got like tens of thousands of little files on it, and some of my videos, some of their video. I don't have time to even go through this stuff, but I'm like, whatever, I got to go to DC and fight this. So I did as best as I could to look through all this stuff. How do I know if it was complete? This is a thumb drive given from the FBI gave my public defender, which he gave to me. So I'm like, I don't know, what this is and if it's complete or not or whatever. So I was forced to just use their evidence against me, and they chopped up my video so that all my video, wasn't even complete. I'm like, well, what about this? And they would, chop it and not show anything that made me look good. At one point, like I jiggled a handle. There was like a glass door, like walking in the Pelosi Street. I jiggled a handle because it looked like it was outside. I saw lights or something. And I kind of go like this. And they made such a big deal about me. And then I walked away. It was locked and I walked away. And they're like, was that hand you? Because you see my hand with a glove on, it was cold. It was cold in there. And that was you. You were they were in fear for their life. And you were trying to break in and find Nancy Pelosi. I'm like, I jiggled a door handle, and then I walked away. Like, seriously, if I was there to like overturn a free and fair election or hunt down Nancy Pelosi, I don't think yeah, exactly. I don't think a glass door would have stopped. I go to DC to overturn the election and hunt down Nancy Pelosi. Oh, the door's locked. I'm going home. Oh, well, no more insurrection today. So I was like, like in what reality, and they tried to make a big thing about that. And then, so I walk through, I say, don't do any damage, and I go onto the balcony, and there's like, it's a scene. And me and this other guy were up on, I guess they were painting it or something. So they had some pretty heavy duty scaffolding with a little like ladder to climb up it. And so I was standing up there filming with this guy. I'm like, oh man. And this is right when the we've all seen the footage of the Capitol Police on one side and then all the crazies in there. Well, there was one guy, whether he was on our side or not is to be questioned for sure. But I'm seeing all that. And me and this other guy, he's like a YouTuber or something. He's like, and I'm like, this is like Tiananmen Square. It was pretty exciting because we're like, oh my God, what is this? Because at the time, keep in mind, I didn't know about I knew about the swamp and that this was not, there were a lot of questions about it, but I had no idea about who was implanted and who was there doing stuff. I thought it was just patriots, and the most I ever did was like, stop the steal. This is our house, just patriotic stuff, no threats or anything like that ever. And so one of the Capitol Police guys pops his head through the little, I climbed through the little hatch and he's like, hey, who all's up there? Get down, boys. And I'm like, okay, and he asked me, and you see it on camera, he asked me who else is up there. And I'm like, just me and him, and we both get down And then you hear me say on the camera, how do I get out of here? Because it's a maze when you go in there. And he tells me, he's got like an M16 on one side and a coffee on the other. And he's like, go back inside. And like, I'm like, okay, I ask him how to get out and he tells me to go back inside. You have to go. There's no direct exit there, but I ask him how. And so then, so I go off the balcony and they're, all right, you can't do it? I'm going to do a little research and see if I can come up with something for you, man. All right, thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks. All right, bye. Sorry, contractors.
No worries. That's all right. Let me tell you what Patrick is going through right now, and why he's getting these interruptions while he's on the air with me. He's getting ready to have to report to prison. He's been sentenced to prison. So he's trying to get his house in order to make sure everything's going to be okay while he's away. How long is your conviction?
6 months.
For misdemeanors.
Misdemeanors, yeah.
And you're going to federal prison or county or where? State?
Federal, San Diego. I have my.
Since when are misdemeanors prosecuted with federal prison time?
Yeah. So I was first supposed to report on the 13th of November. I have heart issues. I had an aortic valve replaced. It's failing. So every month it's worse and worse. And so I pleaded with my public defender to extend it or something, because I have a cardiologist appointment on the 20th, an EKG and all that stuff to figure out when and how they're going to do the surgery and all this stuff. So they extended it till the 23rd. I'm like, the 20th was just a preliminary. I have an appointment with the Texas Heart Institute on December 4th. And like, oh, you can't have your heart valve surgery because you're going to be in prison. So that's the deal. So I'm trying to, like, so much is unconstitutional here. Eighth Amendment, my mom sent me a thing about, unjust or cruel and unusual punishment. Well, if I die in prison because I don't have a heart valve, that seems pretty cruel and unusual, and keep in mind, it's all for misdemeanors, trespassing. Like, in what world has someone gone to prison for 6 months for trespassing?
That was my question. Exactly. Yeah. How is this happening? This is insanity. This infuriates me. I'm listening to some conservative talk show host the other day talking about there's still people who are being prosecuted and sent to prison for the January 6th rally. And he named how many people from each different state. And then he goes, and one from California. That's you, buddy.
Oh,
you.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, yeah,
this is infuriating. And everybody's saying, well, all we have to do is just get Trump back in and Trump will fix it all. Well, Trump's not going to be sworn in until early January. If they even ever allow it to happen, they're going to do everything they can to stop that. Yeah. And by that time, and by the time he takes office and all this gets squared away, you're already going to have to have served 6 freaking months for misdemeanors in federal prison.
And my heart could fail in that 6 months. Like, it goes down every month. Like, it is getting dire to the point, like, I get dizzy. I'm unstable walking.
Have you heard from any of our elected representatives in California? Tom McClintock, Kevin Kiley, Shannon Grove, any of them?
I mean, I know of all of them, but I kind of kept quiet until you. I would do the Freedom Riders rallies and stuff, but as far as social media, because they've scrubbed through all my social, they watch everything, so they bug my house and just horrific stuff. But so I was thinking, like, oh, someday justice is going to happen if you just lay low. And I'm like, it just gets worse and worse. I mean, I'm going to prison when I need a heart valve replaced, like could be a death sentence, like, and they think it's more important to have me in prison. I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to
This
explain.
is not so much to shut you down and shut you up and make you fearful of ever speaking out again or standing up for our constitutional rights. You know what this is all about, right?
Scaring everybody. How dare you do that?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
This is what will happen to you if you protest a free and fair election, and we know how free and fair that was. But and in my opinion, like I think Trump's going to get in tonight. He's going to become president elect because it's going to be too big to rig. I've seen the support even in Northern California. We're doing rallies and people are just like dancing and like, go Trump, like you would think like California, deep blue. I saw maybe 1% of the people giving us the finger, and maybe, and a lot of people were just like drive by, but overwhelmingly, most of the people were like, go Trump, we're there with like fight, fight, fight and banners and just so the enthusiasm.
And everybody wearing garbage bags now.
Yeah.
That is so
It's
funny.
great. All those
it.
people are awesome, and that's how I
They
met
truly
you.
are. They truly are.
So in my opinion, here's how it's going to go down. So he's going to win tonight. He's going to become president-elect, whether they take a few more before January 6th, that could happen. And then, in my opinion, they're going to try to not certify it. And then they're going to use the whole January 6th thing. And they're going to say 1,283 people agreed that this was a violent insurrection or did prison time so basically all of us pawns, we're basically pawns. We're another number they can add to that. And so when they don't certify it, then they can say, well, it's because of the insurrection, even though nobody was charged with insurrection. So
right.
It's unconstitutional. It should go to the Supreme Court. But in the meantime, I'm going to be in prison and maybe dead by then, because the soonest he can do pardons is on the 7th. He can start. So where I am on that, if I'm on this list, I mean, you would think it's misdemeanors. It should be a slam dunk. It should be quick, but you know how the government moves. So I could just be sitting in there for months,
Have you ever been in trouble with the law before like this?
No,
Have you ever served any kind of time?
No priors, no, nothing.
Patrick, this has got to be scary as hell for you. So walk us through what happened when you got that knock on the door, because this whole knocking on the door at usually very early in the morning and with a massive firepower trained right at you when you answer the door is all again to disorient and to strike fear into your heart. Because you've never gone through anything like this. Look what they did to Roger Stone, for heaven's sake.
Oh yeah.
What was it like?
So at first, so a couple guys were coming to my door. I have a camera that looks down in the front door, so I can see who's at the door and watch my Amazon packages and all that. So I see these guys. They kind of look like good old boys, got their Bass Pro hats on, and I'm like, who are these guys? I don't know who they are. So I don't answer the door. I'm like, they're probably trying to sell me a kitchen or something. I'm like, okay, whatever, and then they come back like the next week, same thing. I'm like, who are these guys? And I don't answer the door. So then I worked at a church. I'm a sound engineer. I did the, sound for a church. So one Sunday after church, I go out to my car, and these same two people are standing by my car, and I'm like, hi, can I help you? And they're like, well, yeah, we're from the FBI. We know you went into, the Capitol and stuff on January 6th. I'm like, yeah, I didn't do anything. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't tell anybody to do anything. And I left and I came home, and they're like, well, yeah, they played the whole good cop, bad cop thing. And they're like, well, Washington wants to give you 20 years, but if you tell us your side of the story, we'll talk to them
without an attorney.
Yeah. So
Oh, you don't need an attorney. No, no, no. We're
yeah,
just
yeah, oh,
talking.
no,
That's
and
what
I
they
was
did to everybody.
yeah. So I was a little naive at the time, and I was like, oh, he seems so. I'm talking to my mom and my stepdad about it, and they're like, don't say anything. They're going to try to entrap you or use something you say against you. Don't, because I'd been talking to them on the phone. They wanted to talk right then, but I had a doctor's appointment. I'm like, I've got an appointment. I can't talk to you right then. So we were going to meet at like Mel's Diner like the next day and stuff. In the meantime, I talked to my parents. They're like, don't say a word. You don't say anything. So I called him and I said, hey, I know you work for the FBI, and I don't think your first priority is making sure that I get justice. So I'm not going to say anything without an attorney. And so that was it. And he's like, okay, whatever, hung up. And then I didn't hear from them for months and months and months. So I'm like, okay, it just went away, So that's what I was thinking. On December 13th of 2023, I'm getting ready to go to I do like yoga and fitness and stuff. And so at 9:30 on Wednesdays, I have a yoga class. So I pull out to go to my yoga class, and I pull out onto the street, and like I start going down the street, and I just get surrounded by all these. I didn't know they were undercovers. The first one that blocked my way, I thought it was some drunk person, like just like rolled down the street. I thought a car was rolling out of a driveway into the middle of the street. So I like swerved and went on this, like, oh my God, I'm going to run into this guy. So I swerve and I like park over there. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Before I can even think, I'm surrounded by like SUVs, several other cars, and like, I don't know, 8 people with long guns and short guns. I've got little dots on my head. Like they've got like, some of them have lasers, and I've got my hand, and they're like screaming with the guns. And they're like, put your hands up, throw your keys out of the car, which I do. I've got my hands up. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, I don't put 2 and 2 together. This even has anything to do with January 6th. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I'm like, this is serious. They've got guns pointed at my head. They obviously have the wrong guy. And so I throw my keys out, and and they're like, get out of the car, put your back, and I do as they say. If they throw me on the ground, then they move me to the hood of one of their cars, and they took my car, which was parked in the middle of the street with the keys in it. So they drove my car back to my house, which was only like 400 feet away. I barely made it any. And they used the thing to open up the garage. And so meanwhile, I'm like, what's this about? They've handcuffed me. I'm on the hood, and they're like, what's this all about? And they're like, we have a warrant. And I'm like, well, let me see it. They wouldn't show me the warrant. They're like, we have a warrant. I'm like, I want to see what the warrant's for. And they wouldn't show it to me. And I was like, what the, so then while I'm on the hood of the car in the street, they're in my garage walking around, and I had a camera in there. So they broke all my cameras and disconnected all my Alexas. They destroyed my house. So, and I had a safe for guns in the garage. They wanted the combination, the code for it, which is the same one I use for my banking pin and stuff. They don't show me a warrant. I'm not going to just give them my banking pin, to a bunch of people that I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So my alarm starts going. So they had broke into my house, and my alarm starts going off, like the loud one outside. It's like, bah, 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 bah. And they're getting more and more angry, and all the neighbors are coming.
I'm getting more and more angry.
Yeah. I go through my ups and downs, but so the alarm's going off. Bah, bah, bah. They want the pin, and I'm like, you won't even show me a warrant. I ain't giving you crap, Boom, your head goes down, and so anyway, so
they slammed your head on the vehicle.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, and they jammed on one of my toe. You could tell that they were just pissed off. When they took me from the hood of that car to another one that took me to jail, they checked me up against so that I would hit the thing. A guy stomps on my foot. I got a toe that's, looks like this. My mom's like, "What's wrong with your foot?" I'm like, "Well, that's where the FBI stepped on it, So, but anyway, so yeah. Well, apparently, I went to the podiatrist, and she said there's no broken bones, but the toes now like this. So all my toes are normal except for this one. So I don't know what they did, but there's more serious things than my toe. So they throw me in jail. I go to Sacramento jail, a denied bond. So finally I got to see the warrant. At that time, I was able to see the warrant, and it's the same one that I showed you with the 4 misdemeanors. It's like this was the reason to raid my house and destroy my house. I can get into that later, but so they throw me in jail, denied bail. So I'm in the holding cell for like hours and hours. So me and like 20 other guys are talking about, they're in for manslaughter, weapons charges, robbery, all the random stuff, burglary, and me and one. So they all get either released on their OR, so they don't even get out of the holding cell. It's like they
Own
just
recognizance, by the way, is what that stands for
Yeah,
anybody who doesn't know.
Yeah.
Your release on your OR, own recognizance. In other words, you're responsible for making sure you come back.
Yeah.
No bail involved, right?
Yeah. So a lot of those people got OR'd, and then the ones that didn't had the ability to post bail. If they had money or a way to post bail, they could. Not me. I couldn't post bail. I was held there, and me and this other guy, and I don't know what his deal was, but we were the only 2 that weren't allowed to post bail. So I'm like, well, this is, because my parents were going to put up their house, to post bail, and plus they had my phone, so I couldn't call anybody or, communicate with anybody really. So anyway, after the holding cell, they move you over to get what you're supposed to wear. So they take I have these special like $300 socks because I had an allergic reaction to Cipro, antibiotic that I didn't know at the time. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. So it ended up eating away my heel, my toe, and I almost lost my left leg. Like a few years ago, like I literally was hours away from losing my left leg. They wanted to amputate it. And so I told the guys that were giving us our clothes, I said, these are special medical socks. I need to wear these. And they're like, well, you'll see a doctor. And they took them away. I literally have to wear them all the time, except when I'm sleeping. I have a special bed that elevates my feet above my heart to keep from swelling. So not having them for days. When I met my public defender, I was in another a smaller cell to meet your public defender. I was literally laying on the ground with my feet up in the air, and my ankles were like this big. And I'm like, I'm going to lose my leg, So anyway, so they kept those. I told them about the heart medication that I need to take every day. And they said, oh, you'll see a doctor. Doctor never came. I made many, many requests. No doctor ever. And so after spending time, and the cell I was in, you're basically given this crappy wool blanket with like lice on it and stuff, cockroaches crawling all over me. At night, they would blare on a light so that you can't sleep because the light's on. And then during the day, it's pitch dark. So you're totally screwed up, and the food there is horrible. So I didn't eat. But everything is horrible about it. But I did turn some people around in jail. So there is a good side. I've got people that I still stay in contact with that were like, I've totally switched their viewpoints. So I'm in there, and then I meet the local judge at the federal courthouse there. So they load us up in a van and take us to the federal courthouse like in the morning. And so they put the the shackles on you. You want to say something? Or
Yeah, but this is a point I wanted to make. I want people to understand. When he was brought in for these hearings, you literally had to go to where the crime allegedly took place, and that is in Washington, D.C., which means they had to, at our taxpayer expense, fly you out there, right?
so at that court case, I wasn't in DC. This was a federal district court in Sacramento. So they put me in a van, and I don't know, we went a few buildings away. So at that time, they did it in Sacramento. So, but later court cases, yeah, I had to fly on my own expense. But
You had to fly yourself there
oh yeah, they didn't pay for anything. Yeah. So anyway,
for misdemeanors.
oh yeah. Oh, dude, this has cost me so much money. I won't even get into it. Oh, they got me fired from that job. Remember, I said I was walking out at a church
At the
to
church,
talk
yeah.
with them. So the feds went into the church to try to find like the goods on me. Like, oh my God, who is this insurrection? So, they didn't find anything, but they scared the leadership there. And it's a pretty woke church, so they believe everything they see on TV. So you get so it scared them, and then suddenly after like years of working there, no problem, just glowing reviews, then suddenly like, oh, we can't afford you anymore. And I'm like, I'm basically doing this just as my way of tithing. My time is like, instead of tithing, I basically get some gas money, and so suddenly now they can't afford me, so they fire me. So whatever, I don't care about that. But anyway, so I get out. So I'm in the holding cell at the jail to see the local judge there, who was decent, and like I come. So they've got like two kind of open air cells when you wait to go into the courtroom, and so we're all talking amongst ourselves, and they figure out that I'm the MAGA guy, and like they're like, and a lot of them are just naive, don't know the truth, and I start talking to them. I'm like talking to them about J6 and Trump, and like he's not a racist, and like people are like listening, and like, so we've got two cells like full of, I don't know, maybe 30 people or so. And we're all talking amongst ourselves, and these are like some bad they're either in the system because they did bad things or what. But I'm talking to them, and I'm like turning people around. People are like interested, they're like, wow, I had no idea. So these people all in these holding cells are like turning around. They're like, I've just I talked about God and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know where you believe, I'm all tatted down, so I don't look like your typical Christian, guy. So I can kind of get on their level, I'm, in the cells, we're doing like push-ups contests and all this stuff. And like, I use that as a way to like reach people. And so anyway, so I talk to them, and then I've got my leg irons on. I've got my wrist irons on, a waist iron on, the orange jumpsuit, and they walked me into, like, I'm the first or one of the very first people to go into the courtroom. My mom and stepdad are there, and I just smile because I see my mom's like crying. And so we go in there, and I see the judge, I'm like, yes, Your Honor, blah, blah, blah. You've been charged with, and she's like, trespassing, misdemeanor, disorderly conduct, misdemeanor, parading and demonstrating. And she's like, what? Why are you even here? He needs to be let out immediately. And this is on the morning, like a Friday morning. And so she said, he needs to be let out today. So I'm like, and the prosecution that was in there, I don't know if she was DOJ or what, said, yeah, we don't dispute that, no problem, no bail, no having my parents put their house up or anything. Like, let him out. He doesn't belong here. And I'm like, Oh, cool. I'm thinking, good. I get out today, you know? So I walk back into that, down the hallway where the open air holding cells are for the other people that are going to go in after me. And one of the guys is like, what'd you get, white boy? And I'm like, they OR'd me on recognizance. They let me out, and everybody in the holding cells started going, Trump, Trump, Trump. I'm talking gangbangers, blacks, Mexicans, whites, meth heads, fentanyl, a load of people. They're all going, Trump, Trump.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
goodness.
I asked my mom, did you hear? Because it was loud. I'm
Oh my
like,
goodness.
I didn't know if it got into the courtroom. I'm like, did you hear them cheering? And she did. And the doors were soundproof.
Hey,
But the
Patrick, I have Mark Fincham standing
oh
by. He's in the
oh
green
okay
room. He's in the green
okay
room right now.
yeah
I can see
yeah
him. Mark, I can see you there.
yeah
If you've been listening in on what we're talking about here, this is Patrick Whale. Would you mind if I brought you in right now at the end of this show and get your thought on this? You okay with that? I can see you in the green room. Give me a thumbs up if I can bring you in. No? Okay, gotcha. I've got him standing by,
yeah
and I'm
okay
really excited to get him on. But
yeah
Patrick,
yeah 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 we
Patrick,
can do.
I,
So
I
I'm gonna
want
be
to hear the rest of this story because as of right now, you are frickin' going to prison at the end of this month
yep
for
yeah
6 months
23rd. So you
because
can
you
go to
walked into that Capitol building on January 6th.
yep yep. So
Brother,
yeah,
I wish you all the best.
thank you.
Can and we're going to get the show on Rumble because I'm quite sure Facebook and YouTube will probably pull it down, but we'll get it on Rumble. I'll get you the
Okay,
link. You share it all you want, and I'm going to tell
yeah,
my friends about you too and see if they can can get you on too, just to get the word out.
cool
And
cool.
thank you
That's
for
cool.
your bravery. Thank you for
All
what
right,
you're doing.
thank you, Charles.
And I'm guaranteeing you this, brother. There's a whole lot of people watching right now who will
Cool,
start praying for you, praying for you,
awesome.
praying for your safety, praying for your family.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
It was nice to meet.
That's a hard story to hear right there. Thank you for watching. Do Not Talk. You want to help us? Venmo.com/DoNotTalk. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most important,